The young and the restless spoilers shock. Amanda had always been a woman who thrived in control, and for a long time she believed she understood Kane better than anyone else. She told herself she was the only one who could navigate his moods, his ambitions, and the sharp edges of his pride, but that illusion had begun to crack long before she realized it. In Genoa City, nothing stayed still for long, alliances shifted like shadows, and affection could turn into a weapon overnight. From the moment Lily returned, the air around Kane changed. Amanda noticed it first in the way his voice softened when he mentioned her name, the faint flicker in his eyes that he could not quite mask. She told herself it was nothing, just a fleeting reminder of a past connection, but deep down she knew the truth was more dangerous. Kane was cautious by nature, but his arrogance was just as strong, and he underestimated how far Amanda's devotion could twist into something darker. In the quiet corners of her mind, Amanda replayed every moment she had stood by him, every plan, every whispered vow of loyalty, every time she defended him against the whispers of those in Genoa City who warned her he was not to be trusted. She had been willing to help him in his thirst for revenge, to burn bridges and salt the earth if it meant the two of them could stand together against the city that had scorned them both. But now, she felt that loyalty mocked. Kane thought he could simply end things, as though their connection was nothing more than a chapter to close. He believed he could control the narrative, that he could play with hearts and still keep his crown. Amanda saw the truth, that he had never really believed she could walk away, that he thought she was bound to him no matter what he did. That was his first mistake. The second was underestimating how quickly love could rot into fury. She watched him from a distance now, not always in sight, but never far. She could disappear into the background with ease, letting him think she had moved on, while in reality every move he made was measured, noted, and stored for the moment she would strike. When Lily appeared again in Kane's orbit, Amanda's unease hardened into certainty. She had seen this before. The way Lily's presence seemed to strip Kane of his cynicism, the way he entertained the possibility of a future that didn't involve endless battles. At first, they were only circling one another, testing the boundaries, careful not to cross lines too quickly. They were not in love yet, not in the way Amanda feared they would be, but Amanda understood momentum. The pull between them was there, growing stronger with every encounter. She knew how this would end if she did nothing. Still, she told herself to wait, to keep her anger caged until the moment was right. Patience was the weapon Kane never thought she possessed. But Kane's arrogance made it harder. His casual dismissal of her feelings, his belief that he could orchestrate everything and emerge unscathed, made her pulse with a dangerous kind of energy. They shared things that were not easily untangled, secrets, debts, and ties that bound them far more tightly than mere affection. He knew too much about her, and she knew even more about him, enough to ruin him if she chose. The thought became a quiet comfort, a reminder that she was not powerless. And yet, when she finally learned that Kane and Lily had reconciled, that the subtle flirtation had become something solid and undeniable, the restraint she had clung to shattered. The betrayal cut deeper than she expected. It wasn't just that he had chosen Lily. It was that he had chosen to erase Amanda entirely from his vision of the future. Her mind turned over and over on itself, searching for a way to hurt him as he had hurt her. Revenge became the only language she could understand. Her thoughts turned to the most brutal option, Lily's removal from the equation altogether. In the darkest hours of the night, she imagined the chaos it would unleash. Kane broken, gutted by grief, forced to live every day knowing that the woman he loved had been taken from him. It would be the ultimate punishment, one that could not be undone. But even as the fantasy took shape, a hollow ache lingered in her chest. If Lily was gone, what would Amanda really have left? Kane's pain would not restore the love he once gave her. His rage would not heal the wound of his betrayal. The satisfaction would be fleeting, replaced by an emptiness she could not fill. And yet, knowing this did not extinguish the fire. It only made her plans more calculated, more precise. Because in Amanda's mind, the question was no longer whether she would act, but how far she was willing to go before she lost the last fragments of herself in the pursuit of revenge. Kane might still believe he could see the whole board, but he had no idea that Amanda had already stepped off it, moving in the shadows where he could not follow, ready to turn the game into something far more dangerous than he ever imagined. Amanda's descent into darkness had not been an overnight transformation, but rather the slow erosion of a woman's hope until nothing remained but bitterness and obsession. In the beginning, she had believed herself indispensable to Kane. His ally, his confidant, his equal in ambition and cunning. She had stood beside him in silence when whispers of betrayal filled Genoa City, had defended his name when others sought to tear it apart, had even entertained his dreams of revenge against those who had wronged him. In Amanda's mind, theirs was a partnership forged in the fire of shared grievances, unshakable because it was built on a foundation of loyalty and mutual need. But that illusion began to crumble the moment Lily drifted back into Kane's life. At first, Amanda told herself it was nothing, just the ghost of an old connection flickering briefly before burning out again. Yet the signs were there, subtle but undeniable, the softened tone when Kane spoke of her, the way his eyes seemed to light up in Lily's presence in a way they never did for Amanda anymore. It wasn't love yet, but Amanda had seen enough to know the momentum was building. She understood Kane's habits and weaknesses better than anyone, and she could feel him slipping away. The realization was like a splinter lodged deep in her chest, impossible to ignore. Still, Amanda tried to mask her growing unease. She kept to the shadows, waiting, watching, telling herself that she could outmaneuver Lily the way she had outmaneuvered so many others before. But Kane, in his arrogance, made her task harder. He dismissed her feelings with casual cruelty, as if she were merely a chapter in his story that could be closed whenever it suited him. He thought he could control everything, the game, the players, even Amanda herself. That belief was his first mistake. His second was forgetting that love and loyalty, when soured, can transform into something far more dangerous. When word reached Amanda that Kane and Lily had reconciled, the last threads of restraint she had been holding on to snapped. The betrayal was more than she could bear, not only because he had chosen Lily, but because he had chosen to erase Amanda from his vision of the future entirely. Her mind, once sharp with strategy, became consumed by a single, poisonous thought: if Lily was gone, Kane would be forced to live with the kind of loss that had been eating away at Amanda since the day he turned from her. She told herself it wasn't about reclaiming him. She knew, deep down, that some things could not be undone. But about balance, about making him feel the same hollow ache she carried every day. She began planning in the quiet hours of the night, her thoughts growing darker with each passing day. The abduction was not an impulsive act. Amanda knew Lily's routines, the places she went when she was alone, the moments when her guard was down. She chose her moment with surgical precision, striking in a way that left no time for resistance. By the time Lily realized what was happening, she was already in the back of Amanda's car, the city falling away behind them. The warehouse Amanda had chosen was a relic of forgotten industry, cold and hollow, with only a single bulb to cast its weak light over the cracked concrete floor. She secured Lily to a chair in the center of the room, letting the silence build until it felt suffocating. When Amanda finally spoke, her voice was sharp enough to cut through the stale air. She demanded to know why Lily had come back, why she had stolen Kane away, why she had the audacity to insert herself into a life where she was not wanted. Lily's answer was calm, almost maddeningly so. She told Amanda that love was not something that could be stolen, that it was a choice, freely made, and that no one should have to live under the shadow of betrayal. She spoke not as a conqueror, but as someone simply stating a truth that Amanda refused to acknowledge. The words were a blade twisting deep inside Amanda, a reminder of everything she had lost and everything she could never reclaim. She had expected fear, pleading, some sign of submission. Instead, Lily met her gaze without flinching, her calm a silent challenge that made Amanda's blood run hotter. The first blow came almost without thought, a sharp backhand meant to shatter the serenity in Lily's eyes. Pain flickered across her face, but still she did not break. That unshakable defiance was intolerable. Amanda's hand went to the gun at her side, the cold metal heavy against her palm. It had been meant as a prop, a symbol of the power she held in this room, but now it felt like the only way to make her point. She pressed the barrel to Lily's temple, expecting the fear to finally surface. Instead, Lily's eyes locked with hers, steady and unyielding. In that gaze, Amanda saw everything she wanted to avoid. The reflection of her own desperation, the truth of her fading allure, the certainty that Kane's heart would never belong to her again. For the briefest moment, Amanda's resolve wavered. A tremor ran through her, an awareness of just how far she had drifted from the woman she once was. But then the moment was gone, drowned in the surge of rage that had been building for months. The sound of the gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space, a single, final note that seemed to swallow the air. Lily crumpled, her body sliding from the chair to the cold floor. Amanda stood frozen, the gun still in her hand, as if her mind had yet to process the reality of what she had done. The sound of footsteps pounded in the distance, growing louder until Kane burst into the room. His eyes went wide as they took in the scene, Lily sprawled on the ground, Amanda standing above her, the weapon in plain view. He dropped to his knees beside Lily, pulling her into his arms, his voice breaking as he called her name over and over. Blood stained his hands as he tried in vain to stem the flow, rocking her as if motion alone could keep her from slipping away. Amanda wanted to speak, to justify herself, but the words refused to come. Kane didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge her presence. His entire world had narrowed to the woman in his arms, the woman Amanda had just taken from him forever. In that moment, Amanda understood the true cost of her revenge. There would be no victory here, no satisfaction in watching him suffer. All she had done was ensure that Kane's grief would eclipse every memory he had of her, that his hatred would burn hotter than any love they had ever shared. And as sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer with every heartbeat, Amanda realized there was no turning back from the line she had crossed. Whatever came next, prison, exile, or something worse, would be the price she would pay for a moment of fury that had consumed her completely. She had wanted Kane to feel her pain, but in the end, all she had managed was to destroy the last piece of herself that still resembled the woman he once knew. The shadows she had once used to hide now felt like a cage, closing in tighter with every breath, trapping her in the very darkness she had embraced.